Hey everyone, welcome back to another SAT math video. This is a question from the official 2024 Test Bundle 6 Math Module 1. Circle A shown is defined by the equation quantity x plus 2 all squared plus y squared equals 9. Circle B, not shown, is the result of a shifting circle A down 6 units and increasing the radius so that the radius of circle B is 2 times the radius of circle A. Which equation defines circle B? Okay, so this one is, I would consider kind of like a medium problem, but you would really only the difficult part would be kind of needing to know what the equation of a circle is and how that changes as you shift a circle around a graph, right? So for your reference, the equation of a circle will always be x minus h, some value h squared, plus y minus some value k squared, right? And that's always going to be r squared. So that's kind of like the main piece of information you need to be able to answer this question, right? So let's just see, how did we get this equation of a circle, right? Does this equation make sense? Well, you can imagine that if you had a circle, for example, on directly on the origin, right? If you had a circle directly on the origin, let's just say its radius was 3, right? If it was directly on the origin, we would know that its shift by in the x direction is going to be 0. So we would have x minus 0 squared, and its shift up and down or in the y direction would also be 0, right? So it would also be y minus 0. And then we'd have some, let's just say if this was 3, right? The radius was 3, then we would have 3 squared over here, right? So simplifying that, that would become x squared plus y squared is equal to 9 squared, right? So this was just, I'm trying to illustrate how this minus h and minus k actually work, right? Because these indicate nothing more than the shift on the x direction or the shift on the y direction of the circle on the xy plane, right? So for our example here, right, we have x plus 2 squared. How did we get this plus 2? Well, if you notice, this circle is not on the origin, but rather it is on minus 1, minus 2, right? It is 2 units shifted to the left, right? So if we were to plug that into our equation here, we would be able to get a similar formula like this, right? So we would get x minus 2 all squared plus y. And notice it's not shifted up or down, right? It's still on the x-axis, so we know that our k is going to be 0. And of course, we have a radius of how many? Well, we can just count, right? We can look 1, 2, 3. So our radius is also r squared, or 3, right? So that's going to be our r squared. And let's see if this evaluates to the same equation we have here. So if we look at this, x minus minus 2, that's going to be x plus 2 all squared. And then y minus 0 squared, that's just going to be y squared. And then 3 squared, of course, is going to be 9 squared. So I know this isn't really, this doesn't look like any of the answers, and it actually isn't really how you solve this problem, but I'm just trying to illustrate the fact like that this is how you would use this equation of a circle and how to interpret the equation of a circle. Because I know it can be a little bit confusing when you have a plus 2, but it's like shifted to the left. So hopefully this helps you understand how these secondary values h and k are utilized when you have an equation of a circle. Now, let's see what they're asking us, right? They're asking us which equation defines circle B, and recall that circle B is simply circle A shifted down 6 units, and then it has a radius 2 times the radius of circle A, right? So if we were to shift this down, right, we would basically have to change our k value, right? We have to change the k value of this circle, right? So notice when we shifted a circle from the origin 2 units to the left, we just added the minus 2 to the h value, right? And then we simplified. So it became x plus 2 all squared. So let's just do the same for this circle by shifting it down 6 units, right? So we already have our x minus 2 because we know that it's shifted from the get-go to the left. So I'm just going to write it like that again, squared plus y. And now let's see, they wanted us to shift it down 6 units. So we're just going to put a minus 6 here, right? Minus k minus 6 squared is going to be some value r squared. I'm just going to erase so I have some more space. Yo, that's a bar. Oh my gosh. Anyways, so yeah, we're going to have some r squared, right? So let's not worry about r right now. We know that's going to be 9, right? So does this make sense? We're going to have now this is x being shifted 2 to the left. That makes sense, right? So we're going to have x plus 2 squared. This is going to be y shifted down 6, right? So that's going to be minus and a minus makes a plus, right? So that's going to be y plus 6 squared. And now let's figure out r, right? Well, notice that our radius was 3 squared, right? So we can really rewrite this as 3 squared, right? And then it said the circle radius of circle B is 2 times greater than the circle A, right? So just by looking at the answers, obviously we can't just multiply it by 2, right? It doesn't seem like that really works anywhere. And we wouldn't multiply by 2 on this side because that doesn't really make sense, right? What does that mean, multiplying this x and y values by 2? I'm not entirely sure. Even if you divided this side by 2 and moved the 2 over to this side, then you'd half the radius, which also doesn't make sense. So I guess that would be a good time to actually try to eliminate some answers, right? So like we know this doesn't make sense, and this doesn't make sense, right? Because what does like if you were to move the 2 onto this side, you would get half the radius, right? So that doesn't make sense. So we are left with either A or C, right? Well, we know that it can't be minus 6, right? Because minus 6 would be simply moving it up 6, but we actually moved it down 6, hence the plus 6. So the only answer we have with a y plus 6 is A, right? So we don't even have to really worry about the radius. If we know how the shift happened, there's only one equation here that has the correct shift in y units. So our answer would be A, right? And if you're wondering why there's a 4 times 9 here, well, recall that they told us that our r was multiplied by 2, so our r was originally 3, and then our new r, let's just call it r prime, is equal to 3 times 2. And remember, in our equation, it is r squared actually, so that would be 3 times 2 squared, which would be nothing more than 9 times 4, right? So that's how they made this r term over here, in case you were wondering. But we didn't even really need to worry about it because all we did was look at how the circle was shifted down and then found the correct equation that way. So hopefully this video made sense. Let me know in the comments if there's anything that was unclear or any ways that I can improve these videos. In summary, you really just needed to know how the equation of a circle works and basically how to manipulate the equation of a circle, that is, shift it up or down or left or right along the x-axis. Of course, always check out Khan Academy. It is a great resource for SAT and ACT prep as well as other subjects for self-study. And of course, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one.